and welcome to Bless Their Yap. I'm your Reverend host, Olivia, now in 4K. Join me and my Reverend Saint Marianne each week as we dive into the Gen Z holy text, a notes app. Each week, we are tasked to write something down in our notes app, and then we yap about it. Marianne, what do you have for me this week?
So this week I broke a little bit and I was kind of on vacation this
It's
past week,
Montreal.
and when I didn't have anything to do, I was like, "Oh my god, I miss Instagram. I want to go back on Instagram." So I didn't download the app.
I was gonna say
I just went on it on my web browser.
because I've sent you so many.
Yeah, I'm no longer however many months sober from Instagram addiction. Yeah. But while I was on the app, I kept seeing things of like 2016 makeup, it's coming back, and like all this rhetoric about how like 2016 makeup was like the height of makeup, and how like super glam makeup is coming back and is kind of like a pendulum swing the other way to like the clean girl aesthetic type of stuff, and like the cherry girl and like the
The girls.
strawberry girl, or like all these things. Yeah. So I kind of wanted to talk to you about that, kind of talk to you about, because I feel like you have like makeup looks that are my makeup looks are like this is like a lot,
It's really
not a lot, but like this is like
beautiful, and I've
smoky
struggled
eye,
with
like
my
pretty type
skin
of
for like 10 plus years. But yes, yeah.
yeah, exactly. So like I feel like you have like really intricate makeup looks, whereas like mine are like much more subdued. So I was like, this is perfect because you can be our like 2016 makeup
Yeah,
correspondent, and I could be like our clean girl makeup correspondent.
yeah, no, perfect.
And essentially, I wanted to talk about how like in 2016 we had a lot of um like really glam makeup looks where we would like the tart shaped tape shape
Yes,
thing,
yes,
how like super everything was super high coverage, like you
yes.
wouldn't see anything in your like any pores, and how kind of that dwindled away for a while, and suddenly it's coming back.
Yeah, I don't think it's coming back in the way that like people are like touting that it is. And I think there's a couple reasons. I
Mm.
think COVID, right? Because I was like, okay. Oh no, she unlocked my special interest. um, so when we had like 2016 makeup, like in 2016, I was like 16, 17. And before that was like the grunge, pastel grunge Tumblr era of like 2012 through like 2015. And I feel
Mhm.
like that's kind of where my style like stopped evolving. Like my brain kind of went, this is as good as it's gonna ever be forever. Um, and this is like embarrassing, and I have to like bear my hands on the cross for this. I was really into Jeffree Star. I know, which is
It's okay, girl. A lot of people were.
I know, but it's bad. Like, and I remember. Oh my gosh, did you ever watch Jeffree Star? What is like your association?
So, okay. I think like a little bit kind of going backtracking. 2016 was like the era of
The
makeup
beauty?
beauty influencers.
Yes, that was.
That was like the peak of I guess beauty culture on social media was 2016, especially through YouTube tutorials, and
Yes.
like there would be so many like reviews on beauty like stuff, eyeshadow palettes, etc. So for me, my like beauty people was like Zoella,
Yes.
which she wasn't necessarily a beauty like influencer, but like that was that. And then much later on, I think either like during or just before Dramageddon, like the Jeffree Star, the James Charles,
But
those like
yeah.
two specifically, yeah, Tati. Although Tati on the like less so. It was kind of
No.
just Jeffree Star, and yeah, for me it was James Charles
Okay.
was the one that I watched
No.
like every so often. Jeffree Star I kind of got obsessed over because he was so freaking messy. Like
I
he was
know.
so messy.
And-
So I kind of was in it for the drama,
yeah.
but I would still watch them.
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely. And I think that's like the thing about Jeffree Star that I think really got him like his attention was that he was so messy. And I think back in 2016, and I'm kind of worried that we're like kind of regressing in this way too. Is that like people are like, oh, he's so shady, he's so honest, he's so shady. And I think people really, I
Mhm,
don't want to call it like shade culture because that doesn't feel accurate, but I think there was something about being like LOL, so savage, so shady, oh, so messy,
Yes.
always gonna spill the tea in 2016 that I think really helped him gain popularity because he was sort of like a Regina George type character.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like
Yeah.
we're returning to that formula again a little bit, where people being mean online is gonna become more normal, and, like, with Jeffree Star, it's just very hilarious because, like, he's actively, like, a conservative, he's saying that, like, non-binary people aren't real, like, he's racist and has been racist forever since, like, MySpace days when he came out with Lipstick Nazi.
Oh,
Yeah. So, he's just a very messy character, but I was really into him
yeah.
because kind of like how you were, where it was like, "Oh, this guy's really, like, messy." And it was also kind of my first I grew up in a very, like, Christian
Yeah.
town, and it was very like, I was Christian girl Autumn for a very long time. And so he was also kind of my introduction to, like, not necessarily drag, but sort of like something adjacent in that, like, queer sphere a
Yeah.
little bit of, like,
For
drag
sure.
culture and, like, trans culture. I don't think those are the right terms for that, but that sort of vibe where, like
I think just like feminine men.
yeah,
Whereas in a very Christian environment, you have like you the opposite. You
yeah,
don't like feminine men shouldn't
yeah,
exist
like,
in
it
the eyes
was
of like the
just
Christian world.
so yeah, and especially again, like, I'm in a very small rural hometown, like, that just was not like, I heard a lot about the James Charles cover boy thing for a very long time. Like,
Mm,
and so
right.
Jeffree Star and James Charles kind of coming into this scene and being very openly, like, queer men, especially because I think James Charles and I are, like, around the same age,
Hmm.
was just very interesting, and so because of that, like, that relationship with that girl that I had, and then just discovering, like, this whole YouTube content sphere, I got really into makeup. And I was never very good at it, like, I kinda learned as I went along, but I was definitely, like, full face, the cakiest foundation you have ever seen, glitter eyeshadow at 7 AM for no apparent reason. I was really into highlighter. I remember I had a purple highlighter, and I wore it every
Oh God, the 2016 highlight obsession. I like I personally like it.
I
Like
was
I love
okay.
like
I
glowy
still
like
kinda do it because I just like glitter.
I
The
love
bit of
the little like you remember when you would put highlight just like on the
I
like
still do
tip
that
of
because
your
I think
nose?
it's so cute, the little, like
I think it looks so cute.
exactly.
I think that'll be definitely markers of like our age in the future for sure, like absolutely. But yeah, I loved the highlight. But yeah, I feel like 2016 makeup, I feel like it was like the heavy makeup.
Mhm.
It was like the glitter eyeshadow at like
The
forever, the like
super
cat eye sharp enough to kill a man like
super matte overdrawn lips. I did
yes.
so much. And I remember at this time, I also had green hair and like a fuck ass bob sort of situation. And I remember I went to church and apparently, like, and I had like full overdrawn lip, eyeliner, makeup, like the heavy contour. Went to church like that. Someone goes up to my mom and is like, "Is Olivia okay?" And my mom was like,
That's
yeah, like, "Is she okay?"
that's so
I
shady.
know, 'cause, like, just nobody in my town did that, and well, that's not true. We actually
That's
had a lot
really
of young
sweet.
women that were also kind of, like, doing that. I think it was just, like, that on top of green hair, and do you remember how big, like, holographic was? Like, that, like
Yes.
yeah, I'm pretty sure I had a holographic bag, and on top of that, do you remember do you remember crushed velvet and how big, like, crushed velvet was around that time?
No?
Oh my god.
Crushed velvet?
Yeah, crushed velvet, I don't know how to describe it. It's not like velvet, it's almost like shiny velvet. Like, it looks a little different.
Oh. Oh,
Yeah,
yes, yes, yes. It's like crepey.
yes, it's like crepey.
Yeah, it's like a fabric.
I was also wearing pink, like,
Oh
crushed
my
velvet
god.
joggers.
Oh my god.
So,
That's
like,
I can see it.
I
I
kind
can see
of
it. It's like it's basically like the juicy couture type
yes,
of velvet, but it has more
it's,
like
like, shiny. Yeah, it's, like,
texture on
so
it.
it was,
Yeah.
like, makeup, green hair, holographic bag, crushed velvet, like, I looked odd.
In your small conservative town, you were like the poster child for like
Yes, like, a blue
liberal.
so, also in my small town, there's a Trump store, and it's been kicking since, like, 26 it's very embarrassing. But I had blue hair, and shockingly, the Trump store had the best matcha in town, which is also unfortunate.
That's so
the
sad.
the best oat milk matcha to find in Sholo for a long time was the Trump store. I remember I got it there and I'm walking into the Trump store and the employees are looking at me with my blue hair being like, what the fuck is happening? We've been
Oh my
infiltrated.
god.
But it's also like you're selling matcha. Like, of course you're gonna be infiltrated. What do you think is gonna happen?
Yeah, of course you're gonna be infiltrated with matcha.
You're,
Hello.
you're
You
gonna
just are asking for it at that
you're gonna
point.
yeah, they sold hot dogs and matcha and I think it's something else. And then their building wasn't up to code
Right.
and they had to move. Yeah.
Well, dang, the Trump store had to leave. Aw.
No, they just got
Aw.
a different building.
Oh,
I know.
womp.
It's really
Sad.
unfortunate. But then, so that's makeup for
Mhm.
me. And then all the like the Dramageddon stuff happened. And I think at that time too, because I was getting like I was like probably 20 in 2019. And like I was like I kind of moved on from Jeffree Star. One, because I discovered like video essays became really big for me. I kind of moved on from making
Right.
to video essays and I got really into like ContraPoints and like people like that, which was a massive improvement. Because then I was like, oh, I don't think Jeffree Star's behavior is good. Maybe he is racist.
Hmm.
And
I think that's the thing is as a teenager, you're trying to figure out like you're trying to be to see things or like you're exposed to so many different kinds of personalities that you're trying to like figure out which
absolutely,
one kind of meshes most with you and why.
absolutely.
Like I think it's as a teenager if you're watching Jeffree Star or even like if you were older and you didn't know about these things that he would do or all that you knew was like he's just messy haha and your brain can't conceptualize what exactly he's saying, then I think like you know you get a pass. Like especially if you've moved on. If you haven't moved on yet and you're grown,
That's crazy. But like with him, also like him saying the N word to women on the street
mhm,
back in like 2009, he did kind of bury the leads on that. And the person who like said it, other than like POC creators, was Kat Von D, who herself also
mhm.
very problematic. Like, so it's sort of like, and then when Kat Von D made her, this is not just a talk conversation about Jeffree Star, is what I'm realizing. Um, yeah, and it's just really weird. And so like yeah, and I do think Jeffree Star influenced a lot. He also influenced a lot on how I saw myself at that time too, because I was so young
Mhm.
with makeup. And as I've said, have struggled a lot with my skin. That's been kind of like my biggest concern around like how I look is my skin. I am very cystic acne prone. I have very bad like hormonal acne. I'm finally figuring out like medicine that is regulating it, but I wasn't allowed to have access to certain medicines for a long time. I had to do things very naturopathically, which you can do, and that's totally fine. But it just didn't work constantly how I needed it to. And so I saw Jeffree Star, who had like near perfect skin because of like ring lights, face tuning, and like all this stuff, and went, oh my gosh, that can never be me. And then same with I know he's lied about getting lip filler and work done, but I remember still like I remember having like a very visual like effect on me that then prompted me to kind of go like hyper into makeup. And then I kind of stayed that way because I entered cosmetology school, and that was also just a very
Mhm.
normalized, like you're supposed to wear a lot of makeup and play around with makeup in cosmetology school, right? That's the
Yeah.
space for it. Then COVID hits and we move into lockdown. And that's when I think clean girl really started rising because you didn't need to wear a lot of makeup anymore. And I think
Right.
that's also where what I've noticed in clean girl is sort of the shift from wearing a lot of makeup to cover your imperfections to okay, use a lot of skincare to try to fix your imperfections, which I think and like
Mm.
better to try to fix your imperfections, which I think is its own can of worms. Clean girl. So I'm gonna hand that mic over to our clean girl expert. Here you go.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, I think definitely COVID was the kind of turning point
Yeah.
for that like decrease of that 2016 makeup types of looks. I think because like you said people weren't didn't have to put on makeup like every day anymore. You would only be around the people that you were quarantining with or yourself, so that's kind of the people that you were interacting with, so there was no need to do your makeup. I think it has gotten more popular, like it didn't lose its steam because of the rise with the whole trad wife type
Yeah.
of thing, like the kind of as conservatism has had an uptick in popularity. I think so has the like decline of
Very odd looks. Yeah.
yeah, like odd looks or just like out there looks
Yeah.
that aren't very natural
I think
to yourself.
yeah, I think conservative makeup and what we've seen with, like do you remember I don't know if you were on TikTok or Instagram at this time, like, kind of when the American election, happened in 2024, there was sort of this, like, big burst of, like, a trend known as, like, conservative makeup.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that's really interesting because for two reasons. I think it's interesting on one hand because I think it does capture how conservative makeup is about looking natural, but also very like gender affirming. Like you are supposed to look like a very
Yes.
natural, beautiful woman, but you are supposed like, but it is like full face eyeshadow. Like it reminds me a lot of like when a man is like, I like a girl that doesn't wear any makeup, and he shows like a picture of a woman, and it's like,
Yes, and it's
yeah,
like clearly like she has a full glam
yeah,
face on. It's just like more nude looks
yeah,
rather than like
yes, not
in
like
2016 we would have like blue eyeshadow, green eyeshadow, red eyeshadow, like
black
everything was like
lips.
out
That
there.
was my big one, was
And
black lips in 2016.
black lips, that's awesome. That anytime I think about black lips, I think about Sophia Narsgaard or something.
Ooh,
She was like a
yes.
big BuzzFeed lady at that time. Anyways, yeah, I think like with the rise of like I guess this conservatism and this like kind of more natural looking thing, clean girl got more steam, which kind of made 2016 kind of fall out, which is why I'm interested because with 2016 coming back, like for example, I specifically saw Rare Beauty hint that like 2016 looks are coming back, and like they posted like, pictures of like 2016 Selena with like super smoky eye. So I think they're just going to come out with like a smoky eye palette.
Yeah,
um
Rare Beauty
but
is very like okay. How I see Rare Beauty is sort of like because I think another really big pivotal like point in this like timeline is also Glossier launching. Are you familiar with Gloss? I'm assuming.
yeah, of course, of course.
So Glossier launches, and I remember it launched, I want to say like 2017. And
Yeah.
that brand kind of changed. I think also kind of started Clean Girl because it was so unlike anything else on the market. Everything is full coverage. Everything is like they kind of started the like
Yes.
dewy trend. And like they were the first ones that I saw to really come out with a cream blush. And so like, and there's something really
Because I feel like
cool.
blush in 2016 wasn't really a thing.
No,
I think it was just like highlight,
no, I
like
didn't.
colored
Yeah,
highlight.
I did not wear blush in 20 and I remember the girl that I had a crush on was like, "I don't wear blush." And I was like, "Clocked it. Will not also wear blush." Like, you must think I'm cool. I don't wear blush. Got it, got it, got it, got it, got it. And yeah, like blush was just not really a thing. And if it was, like, I think blush is a very big thing because of Glossier. And I think also
Yeah.
Glossier was sort of seen as like the cool girl brand because you weren't wearing a lot of makeup. And I think part of this is probably misogyny as well, where like the idea of a girl who looks naturally really pretty without a lot of makeup sort of like eats its way into our like internally misogynized like pick me brains where we go, well, I
Yeah.
have to be like that. I have to be like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. We're always playing on defense, trying to like not be
Yeah. And
like
so Rare Beauty,
have men not try
yeah.
to be stupid on
Rare
us.
Beauty coming out with a smoky eyeshadow palette to me is really weird because like to me Rare Beauty is just like and I think because it came out after Glossier is just sort of like the new Glossier to me where it's like yeah this is like accessible clean girl makeup which is good but interesting.
I think this also feeds into like in 2016 the amount of collaborations that were happening with influencers was insane. So I think celebrities saw that people are interested in like all of these influencers doing it, and they were like, well, I'm going to use my
Yeah,
social capital I have with my fans and create a makeup brand for
I
myself.
do.
And I think
Selena Gomez,
Rare Beauty was like that.
yes, I think Selena Gomez.
I agree.
I think hers has the most hers and like Fenty by Rihanna have the most lasting
Oh, for sure.
power. And I think part
Fenty was the blueprint for sure.
and I think with Fenty, it was the shade range, right? That was a POC woman making makeup for POC women and being like
Mhm.
very open about it. And I think Fenty Beauty is some of the best makeup. I'm a Fenty Beauty simp. I love Fenty Beauty. And then I think similarly, Selena Gomez comes out with Rare Beauty and the idea of it being accessible for everybody, right? making
Yes. And specifically, I remember her tagline being like it's makeup to enhance your natural
yes,
beauty rather than makeup to cover you.
yes.
So,
And even just like the fact that like even that her perfume is like has like a thing to make it easier to spray for somebody that
yeah,
can't like
accessible.
spray
Mhm.
this way. Um
Yeah.
and I think Fenty Beauty I think once we have like a nuclear fallout and like all celebrity makeup lines are dead, including Kylie Cosmetics, pray to God that ends. I think that Fenty and Rare are gonna be like the two to beat. I think even when Rihanna and Selena Gomez are long gone, those two are gonna still exist because they just
I think so
really
too.
shine.
I think they have a really good vision, both of them.
Yes.
Speaking of Kylie Cosmetics, I like 2016 was also super huge for Kylie.
I could
She wasn't back then. I feel like she wasn't a celebrity, um, as much as she is now. Like now, like back then, she was more of an
yeah,
influencer than she a
yeah.
celebrity,
I think
which is why I think she came out with like all of her like lip kits is the thing that made her
because
like
I think it
absolutely
is.
popular.
Okay. This was going to be my
Mm,
topic, but I had a better topic that came up. So, but I have a lot of thoughts on
you can
Shallow.
put it in anyways.
You will. I know a lot of people and a lot of people that are particularly young women who are like shocked and horrified that Timothy Chalamet would ever be with Kylie Jenner. I'm saying Kylie Jenner.
Mm,
And I think that's crazy because like he's just a man. Like
yeah.
guys, he's just a man. He's not even like an artsy like I was talking to my brother about this because are you aware of like the Timothy Chalamet stuff that's going on right now?
Oh no, like the Marty Supreme stuff, or
No. So he said recently,
oh no.
yeah, not bad. This is actually like such a non-issue,
Okay.
but it's a bad look for him, and I don't see it ever going well for him after this. And I have reasons to that. So with him, he was in an interview or something, and they said, "Would you ever do like ballet or like stage theater?" And he kind of went off and was like, "No, I only want to do film because those are like modern and relevant and blah," and kind of insinuated that like ballet is
Mm,
not relevant or culturally important. And like I was talking to Micah and my little brother about this, where I was like, I actually don't think what he said is necessarily wrong. He's allowed to not
yeah.
want to do that. But we are currently in an era where like film corporate greed is at an all-time high. And on top of that, we are seeing the death of art and the rise of AI. That you saying that kind of puts you in a weird spot. You know what I mean? Like saying art's
Yeah.
irrelevant and bad is not good, especially for somebody like Timothy Chalamet, who has kind of built this public persona. And I don't think he's built it. I think it is something that other people have put on him of him
Hmm.
being his characters that he plays in movies. I think a lot of people, and I do think particularly a lot of young women that are attracted to him, think that he is just like Laurie from Little Women or his character in Bones and All or
Hmm.
in Call Me by Your Name. In
Right.
reality, he's just a guy. He's not
Yeah.
even a great guy. He's kind of like the guy that you know in your theater class that half-asses everything but gets all the really good roles because he's the only boy. Like,
Right. 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 Yeah.
and that's my thoughts.
No. No, I see that. I can see that.
And it really shocks me that people are so shocked by his behavior because it's like this is who he's always been, guys.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I do think the general public will put actors in the box of the characters
Yeah.
that they've played in the past, which is why so many people get like a ridiculous amount of vitriol when they play a bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
crazy.
Anyway, back to
Back to
2016 though.
2016. Sorry for that Timothy Chalamet divergent. Yeah.
No, it's okay. But yeah, I think like with Rare Beauty and like with like other celebrity brands, like saying they're going to go back to 2016 makeup, I think it's just interesting because I'm curious. Like, okay, so we in 2016 where we were like in a pendulum of like liberty in terms of like self-expression, creativity, all these things. Then the pendulum swung the other way in terms of like conservative makeup, clean girl aesthetics, like whatever. Like, oh,
Sorry.
Kiki.
What the hell, Gus?
And now we're going back potentially to the 2016 as a maybe like a correction to like this like conservative makeup type of like idea or this clean girl aesthetic idea. Like I'm curious if they have any correlation there
I don't.
or what you think.
So as someone that lives in America, RIP. I don't know because I have always said for a long time that like conservatism, like even though we can say that progressivism is on the rise and that's really good, I do think conservatism is always our like baseline norm, which I think is bad and that we should try harder to
Mhm.
do, right? Like I do think that when 2016 happened, we had the first wave of Trump. And I think it was so, but I also I'm gonna go on like a really crazy tirade. Bear with me. Walk with me. Walk with me.
Always.
Okay. So when Trump got elected was the same time that you start seeing this really big push and like kind of more diversity in makeup and more like heavy makeup. And like I think that this really glam makeup we can say is like a result of Instagram, but I also think it's a big result of like the influence of drag culture and drag
Mhm.
culture also becoming more normalized. Again, i.e. Jeffree Star. Though Jeffree
Absolutely.
Star is not a drag queen, I think he takes a lot of his former inspiration at that time from like Trixie Mattel and RuPaul. Uh,
For sure. I think like the things that we used to do in terms of like baking our
it's
makeup
all
and like
drag.
contour and all these things,
Well,
that's all
drag
from drag. Yeah.
queens. And I'm just now getting into drag, so everybody like bear with me on this journey. I love drag. I love drag. Like I've only gone to local drag shows. I really want to go to like higher end ones, and I'm just starting to watch RuPaul's Drag Race. So I'm learning. And I've only seen like clips of people on TikTok, but I love drag. I love drag. But I think those are all drag techniques and stuff that kind of got adopted. And obviously, like there is a cycle on how this works. A lot of times like the black community will popularize something like big lips
Mhm.
or a lot of glam makeup that'll trickle down to the gay community, or like it'll go black LGBT or POC LGBT, mainstream LGBT, like straight and that sort of community, and then that'll kind of trickle into mainstream, like predominantly white community. And I think we saw that a lot in 2016 too, where there was a lot of appropriation of Black culture. At this sort of same time, there's a lot of appropriation of LGBTQ culture. And I think companies saw that and saw dollar signs because of how loud we were, at least again in America. I can kind of only talk in an American context of like how accepting and progressive we wanted to be in the face of the first wave of Trump, because at that time young people weren't really into Trump. It was sort of a thing that like your hillbilly like grandma, like people in my town did.
Right.
Like I there were young people in my town that supported Trump, but like my town was also like kind of off the radar for like what I would see
Right.
normally.
It's like on a it's like an edge case
Because my like
essentially.
hometown is so rural, that is kind of expected, and I was already in a red state. But I think for like youth culture at large, that wasn't the norm. And then you have 2020 and Biden comes in and sort of all this stuff happens. And I think we thought we were done. But I think then with a lot of like these tech bros and like influencer really turning heavy MAGA. I think second wave MAGA is very different than first wave MAGA.
I would
And I
agree.
think
I
it's a
think
lot.
first wave MAGA people were like finding their footing almost in terms of how far they could go without like social
Yes.
repercussions. And then second wave MAGA is like, we don't care about any
Yeah,
social
we are the
repercussions.
norm. And I think conservatism has always been the norm, but now like and not like norm positive when I say that. Like please don't think that I'm thinking like norm as like as it should
Hmm.
be. I think it's just unfortunately in America how we're built. Which is bad. But I do think that second wave MAGA has really pumped up like the amp into being like, well, I think sorry, now I'm actually figuring out a better way to say my point. First wave MAGA was a lot of people that were into Reagan. Ronald Reagan conservative. I'm assuming you're familiar with Ronald Reagan. This is me talking to somebody from a different country. Are you familiar with Ronald Reagan? No.
Nope.
Ronald Reagan was the president in the 80s, and he actually is where the line "Make America Great Again" comes from. That was his
Oh.
endorsement. Yeah. Which is why Trump adopted it, because Reagan is very popular amongst conservatives, especially Gen X conservatives and boomer conservatives.
Hmm.
That was their guy. And like that's where trickle down economics comes from. That's also Reaganomics, right?
Oh.
And he also really had a big like focus on the family. He was really part of that community. And as well as like he did nothing for the AIDS crisis. He actively hindered the AIDS crisis terribly in America. Like it was just very much mistreated underneath him because he was so popular amongst conservative Christians.
Conservatives.
Yeah. And again, conservative Christians, and conservative Christian is also kind of popping up really big around this time too in the 80s. It's just an entirely different animal than Trump. When I think of a Reagan conservative, I think of somebody older typically. And I don't know how to describe it. Like they're like Trump is loud and in your face and aggressive is how I view MAGA conservatives. Reagan conservatives are Christian, like buttoned up to like the collar, pearls. Like they are kind of like that pearl clutcher that I think people think all conservatives are. Whereas I've noticed a big shift in second wave Trump that is more blue collar heavy, but also aggressive. And I think I think it's an entirely different animal. I think it's an entirely different animal. And so I don't think we will see a return to 2016 makeup is my long-term point on this. If we do, I think it's a like top bottom trend. Are you familiar with like bottom up, bottom down trend or
No.
okay. So in marketing, there's sort of like these things that are like, say, like somebody, like a company really wants, like, okay, say there's a prediction that like raspberry is going to be really big this year. We are going to have raspberry candy. Raspberry red is going to be on clothes. So there's two ways that could be. A top down sort of way that trend cycle would work is big companies saying, raspberry is going to be really in for 2026, guys. Raspberry is going to be really artificially making this hype around it. I think, but
kind of like the Devil Wears Prada thing, like, oh, this comes from like these designers, and then it goes trickle down to like your.
Yes, it's exactly like that. And I think even now it's a little bit worse because we have influencer marketing. And it can be like directly to a consumer, but it can be like skewed in a way that it seems like it's just somebody talking to you about it. I think Butter Yellow last spring was a really, really big like result of this. I don't think anybody gave a fuck about Butter Yellow, but companies were really pushing Butter Yellow, and Butter Yellow got really big as a result. So like alternatively,
I ate into that because I love that color.
And I think I'm just a hater on Butter Yellow because I have a very yellow skin tone and I look bad in it. And I get about it. But that's like an example of like a company kind of artificially made
top down.
Whereas, and I guess like I think Bose kind of is a different example where now it's a really big company thing. But originally, I think that started. Whoa. That was crazy. Just had like nuclear fallout. Are you okay? That
was crazy.
You know that meme of the cat and it's like the it's just like
oh my god, now I'm like yellow. What the heck? Okay. No. Butter yellow, I guess.
But I think another example of this would be say somebody online is like, plaid is really gonna be in. And it's usually from like smaller alternative communities that you'll see this. Like plaid is really in, like in alternative communities, we like plaid. And then it goes from like the marginalized up to companies where it's like, and this is, I think, more of a result of social like media influencing, is like it kind of organically becoming a trend amongst marginalized people and then growing to be this big example. And so I think that if 2016 makeup does come back, it's going to be like companies pushing it. But I also think we culturally, due to trad wife, clean girl, and kind of a weird like craze with health right now, I don't think we're going to see a return in the same way. You know what I mean? I could see the highlighter kind of returning, but only in like natural shades. I think my purple highlighter is gone forever. Unless I'm buying from my favorite like brand to buy makeup from that still kind of has this vibe is Half Magic Beauty. They have great stuff. I love Half Magic. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna look the same. I think it'll look different. And that's my theory. What do you think?
Fair. No, I think I would agree with you. I think it'll definitely be a mix of them. It's just interesting that there's so much like in the 1 week that I was on Instagram.
No, and I've been seeing it since like as someone who needs to quit Instagram. I've been seeing it since like the turn of the year. And I think it's just interesting. Because I remember the same thing in 2024, people being like, we're bringing back 2014 grunge. And I was like, yes. And then we didn't. No.
And then they didn't. Yeah.
So,
Anyways,
yeah,
what is
this is
your
a really good way to transition to my topic because I kind of brought it up already. Where the reason that I don't think we're going to return to 2016 makeup is because clean girl is so big, and part of clean girl is like a health craze. I watched a really interesting YouTube video today that I then inorganically sent to Marianne and was like, I feel like about like protein being really big and like why protein is really big all of a sudden. And I think it's really interesting how we're kind of, and I think we do this. I think there's like kind of like cyclical trends with makeup. I think there's cyclical trends with like fad diets, obviously, because people are trying to sell us stuff all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Protein is
Like
kind
all the time.
of the new big one. And I think it's a really weird one because I do and I don't think it's really weird because I think it is such a perfect way to like, and in this YouTube video that I watched, it's such a perfect way to combine so many markets. You have the rise of GLP-1s, and Marianne,
Yeah.
calling you out, you're on a GLP-1.
Yeah,
Did your
I
doctor
am.
tell you to eat more protein?
My doctor didn't tell me
Really?
anything. Like I had to do that research myself.
Right.
So, but yes,
You
I
know,
one I learned from my own that GLP-1s can decrease the amount of like muscle mass that you have, which it kind of affects your bone density. I was like, "Oh, so I have to like start eating more protein." But actually, this was a thing before I was on GLP-1s. Like it started when I was trying to lose
yes.
weight. So it was like a couple years ago where I was like, "Oh, I have to eat the same amount of weight in protein."
But GLP-1s were still becoming really big through like a lot of other
Yes.
people at that time too. And because of
That's
that,
true.
that's kind of where that marketing is coming up. And then also an interesting place that it's coming up is like gym bro culture and how gym bros
Yeah.
are so obsessed with protein. And another market that I totally didn't even like predict is premenopause people.
Because I started watching the video that you were mentioning, and it is interesting that is like because apparently premenopausal and women who are in menopause also lose a lot of bone density and muscle mass. So like this idea that like you have to eat protein also really affects
Yes.
them. But I'll let you continue.
I also think that like
Yes, just because of you though. Mhm. Right. Other stuff. Right. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting that you think it's like a conservative take. I more so see it as like a symptom to bigger like problem. I didn't fully watch the video, like I'm like halfway through it, but essentially in the video, kind of how we've talked about like this excessive marketing and certain things, excessive marketing specifically in the protein sphere, and like how there have been so many more items and products that have protein in them because of like all of these reasons. So like I see that, but I also feel like it's like issue that is affecting or is affected by both liberal and conservative. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. In my opinion, I feel like politics is probably the biggest like source of where all of these trends come from, and kind of by extension how like religion can affect these things. How I guess like obviously the things that intrinsically make up a person will affect the trends, and I guess that makes sense. But it is interesting how like everything can feed into. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. 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 I do like wonder like if capitalism is a offshoot of conservatism. I guess I maybe I don't know enough about liberalism to like say. Hmm. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Greenwashing. Yeah. Hmm. Right. Yeah, there's definitely like things everywhere, but specifically for kind of like this protein thing, I think I can see where you're coming from in terms of like how it kind of feeds into this like idea of conservatism. So yeah, I see. I follow you. I get that. That's all she wrote. Yeah, love that. German studies. I'm trying to like fix my lighting. This is like my lighting looks so crazy right now. Hold on. I know. We blame our lighting problems, by the way, in this episode on it getting darker where Olivia is and it getting brighter where I am. Daylight savings. That's the right opinion. Actually, that's going to be my sermon studies. So, quick, very quickly, sermon studies is basically like anything on our mind that we've been like interested in for the week. So, crafts or some sort of rant that I'm going to go on right now, or some TV show or movie. So, my sermon study is how daylight savings is a scam and it shouldn't exist. I hate it. I hate that exactly. Say it again. Wake. We don't need the like time to be dictated by like where the sun is in at a current time. It's I'd rather be on this current schedule where it's like the spring daylight savings where it's like at 7 a.m. It's like not we during the spring we lose an hour. So like why are we changing it in the winter? Doesn't make sense. Anyway. Mhm. Oh, interesting. Oh no. Yeah, I was like, "Oh, am." What's your sermon study? No. Oh, yeah. Mhm. Cute. Love that. Ooh, that sounds scary. Would I? Are you sure? Or would you want me to like it? Right. So cool. So cool. Anyway, love you guys. Bye.